Hey, I'm standing just outside the U.S. Treasury Department in D.C. and thinking, wow, these guys are going to be busy. The Congressional Budget Office came out recently with their estimates for the 2020 budget deficit at $1 trillion. And they're going to continue to grow at an average of $1.3 trillion per year until 2030. And that means the U.S. Treasury is going to be issuing a lot of new Treasury securities, and really just a lot of securities over that time to fund that budget hole. Now, as most of you have seen, this hasn't led to a big jump on U.S. Treasury securities. Why? Well, the U.S. economy is growing, but not at a rate that's either concerning to the markets or to the Federal Reserve. So keep that in mind. Also, inflation clearly remains below the level that the Fed's target of about 2%, and will likely stay below that for some time. And also, in case you missed it, there's this thing called the coronavirus, and it's shutting down large parts of the Chinese economy and spreading throughout the world. Now, it's also shutting down a lot of parts that are flowing to the United States, and that's going to cause slower growth here in the U.S. Now, the Chinese central bank is cutting rates and pumping money into their markets to reduce interest rates to help out. But really, globally, all central banks are closely watching what's happening with the coronavirus to figure out how big of an impact it's going to have on the global economy. And lastly, when it comes to rates, the larger the budget deficit gets, the larger impact it has on interest rates in the economy. In other words, it becomes a self-limiting factor on interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve, because if the Fed raises rates, then the cost of the debt rises, and it puts downward pressure on the economy as the government has to pay more and more interest on the federal debt, and takes that money out of the economy and puts it to paying for the interest on the national debt. Now, that should remind everyone of Japan and the disastrous 20-year period of almost zero growth, and that should be a sobering thought for our friends at the Treasury. I'm Andy Busch, moving my clients from chaos to confidence, and standing outside the Treasury wondering how many late nights these guys are going to have as they issue all that debt.